Great.
Here we go.
Want all that stuff on the floor?
Hi, this is Paula Gloria, and this show is called Farther Down the Rabbit Hole because we like to go into topics more deeply. And we like to go into these topics very often in the studios of Manhattan Neighborhood Network that's located 537 West 59th Street. I'm fortunate to have with me a second time on this shoot as a guest, Cher Carden. Thank you for joining me.
Good to see you again, Paula.
Yeah. And what I wanted to do is talk about alkalinity at the beginning of this show and have Cher explain what it is, and I will explain why I'm excited about this. While I was doing editing for a DVD that Jane Goldberg is producing about radiation hormesis, we were taking testimonials from people who've had good experience with low-level radiation. I'm actually wearing around my neck a radioactive rock. And what Cher said, and I really respected her many years of experience in holistic health, that she had been trying for years to get her pH up, and that she thought over time it would work. She'd heard that the radioactive rocks make you more alkaline. And just being her editor and watching her, I think, made me more alkaline. So maybe you can take this and we can actually take our pH before and after.
Okay.
You can explain to people. Maybe, do you want to zoom in on this?
pH strips, this is what she's holding up, are pH strips. pH strips are treated paper that will help you to know what your pH level is. pH is the chemistry in your body that goes between acid and alkaline. And what you want to have is when your system has too much acid in it, then you have the beginnings of inflammation and degeneration. And what you want to do is have a body that's filled with alkalinity and oxygen so that your body doesn't succumb to disease. When you have too much acid, then you also create an environment where disease can develop. And it usually starts with molds and fungus and parasites. Mm-hmm. And once that happens, then you have true degeneration. And once that happens, then other diseases can come in, like viruses and cancer and so forth. Now, what this will do is when you're able to test your pH every day, they can get an idea of what your body needs. And for the person who wants to test this throughout the day, you can also find out how the foods that you eat during the day are supporting your alkalinity. And what you want to do ideally to start is to use the pH paper in the morning for both the saliva and the urine. And that will tell you what your body is like once it wakes up in the morning.
Are they usually the same, saliva and urine?
Sometimes they're very different.
Very different.
Yeah,
oh, really?
Sometimes it's usually a little bit, your saliva is usually a little bit higher than the urine. That's very typical.
Because once when I was staying with Jane, because she's very knowledgeable about good diet, she gave me some stuff that in the morning made me so alkaline that I lost my appetite. But what I noticed was then I wanted to meditate. So I thought maybe there's an evolution. But then I thought maybe can you be too alkaline?
From what I understand, that yes, you can be. There are some people who have illnesses that are related to having too high an alkaline chemistry. That tends to be a lot less common, at least in this country, than the acid, because we're exposed to so many chemicals and food and processed foods and pollution and stress.
So should we try?
We tend to have more acid. But I really wanted to comment slightly on what you just said, and that you wanted to meditate after your alkalinity had gone up. Well, my theory is the more you clean out your system, the more it's natural to meditate. And not only is it natural to meditate, but it's natural to go within yourself to be more in contact with the truth we talked about in the previous session.
Can you eat to balance yourself? Like, could some of the appetite be that you want to get balanced? Because what happened was, it's fun to eat. It's fun to have a hunger and, and then satisfy it. But I knew that if I ate, I'd get a stomach ache. So having been in my body for so long, I preferred not to have a stomach ache.
Yes.
And then I just chose to get my satisfaction elsewhere, which was internally.
And isn't it wonderful to know that you're able to listen to that intuitive part of yourself? And
Yeah.
that often comes along with having a system that has more alkalinity. Because the more acidic you are, the more out of touch you are with your intuition. Because there's too much in the way. There's too much in the way.
So now, how do we do it?
Okay, this one, I haven't used the strips before. I'm used to using the long.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that comes out in the other container.
I sort of spit on it.
Yeah, I usually just put it right on my tongue.
You do? Okay, then I will too. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we've just tested ourselves. And then what we're going to do is...
I'm not seeing a change in this. I wonder if maybe it needs to be a little bit longer.
And then you measure... You want to come in on this? Is it not changing at all?
Yeah, mine's not changing. Has yours changed?
It may be.
A little bit?
No, it seems to be at 675. Usually it's more alkaline. We can try again. Jane thought that there were chemicals on here and you shouldn't lick it. No, that one is.
Oh, there is a little bit of difference, yeah, from the original. So it's showing a little bit. It's right in the middle. It looks like 6.5 here for me.
Is that typical?
Yes, that's pretty typical. It should be in the 6s. And it may go up as high as 8.0. Now, I noticed that...
I had a lot of 8.0s. After I was editing you, I was watching this. Mine seems to be 675 here, or 7.0.
Okay. Yes, I think so. It's at 675.
Let's remind ourselves, if we can, at the end of 28 minutes, we'll try it again.
Okay. I also took some herbs right before we did this, so that might also be affecting the strip as well. And what you can do during the day is you can test your pH, and you can regulate the foods that you eat so that your pH stays high, because a lot of us don't realize what we're eating is actually having a negative effect on your pH level.
Right. What about your art?
I wanted to say about the stones. The radiation hormesis stones are filled with, a lot of the stones are made with gemstones that we get from the earth, like malachite, chrysocolla, as well as copper and silver. And these elements that are in the earth have healing abilities. They tend to draw out negative energies that are in the body, and they help the body to heal itself. And they also do it on a vibrational level, and because they help to correct the electrical energy in the body. One of the other things that happens with these stones is that they also have radiation in them. And Jay Gutierrez is the man that you met through Jane, and I've also met through Jane, who mines these out west. And the radiation levels in them are very, very healthy levels of radiation. We tend to think of radiation as being something
bad.
That's very bad.
Wait until you see our DVD.
And I know, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
And because it's been used in hospitals to help heal people of cancer. But unfortunately, what happens is the radiation levels are so high that it also kills off good cells as well as the bad. Now,
and then the good cells become food for the growing fungus, because that's essentially what it is. Cancer is a fungus.
Yes, that's true. And what happens with radiation is you kill off the fungus and the molds in the body, which are part of what the cancer is living off of. And many times parasites are...
Well, Simoncini is saying it is the cancer. Like you were talking about a dysfunctional family, they act out in different ways.
Yes.
What looks to be different forms of cancer and has different names, when you do a DNA analysis, he says it's Candida. That's what Simoncini says in Italy. But this will sort of go through your system systemically and get the fungus. I just put this on this morning, and I already am experiencing some die-off from the fungus going in the lymph. My eyes are watering. And I was thinking I should, let Josh Walensky try this. But some of us are very sensitive.
Yes, I am very sensitive to everything. As a trans channel, that makes me a much more sensitive person. So when I feel it within myself too.
Yeah, and you just put it on before the shoot.
Yeah, and I just put it on before the shoot. So I am noticing that I feel, I would say, kind of elevated. A little bit euphoric, actually,
exactly.
having it on. And what the stones will do is the radiation goes into the body, and it helps to enhance the immune system's ability to fight off the parasites in the system, the fungus in the system, and the mold. And therefore, the cancer gets destroyed. Cancer cannot live in an oxygen-filled environment. It cannot live in an environment where there's true circulation and no stagnation.
Well, I know at La Casa de Spa you have several ways of dealing with it, because there's the ozone therapy, because that's different than the radiation hormesis, the oxygen-rich environment.
Yes.
Like what the scientists are saying in the DVD is that as the DNA comes out of its protein shell in order to express itself and create other proteins in the life of a cell, it's vulnerable to certain stresses, including low-level radiation, which may need some repair. The thing is if it does get damaged, it goes back in the protein shell, it can't repair itself in the protein shell. So the radiation hormesis sort of shakes it out and gives it just enough of a shake that then it's looser and it can be repaired. Then the repair enzymes can go in. That's one theory.
Yes.
And so I'm telling Jane, I think this DVD is going to open more questions than it's going to be answering, because clearly something's going on. I talked to the therapist who took a hot rock, one with more radiation than what we're wearing around our neck, and put it on a breast that had cancer about the size of a palm that was oozing from February until July. It stopped overnight, and then 5 days later it had pink skin growing over. So when you see this kind of clinical results, then you scratch your head and you want to know what's the explanation. So a lot of times the scientists who are talking about DNA don't have clinical experience. That's why I think what Jane and La Casa is going to do is create a platform where you can bring the scientists together with people with clinical experience.
Yes, that's true.
So,
we're again lucky that we're living in an age where this information is coming forth now, because a lot of this has been suppressed, especially in this country, for many, many years. And some of these tools for healing have actually been available in other countries. But here we're just becoming aware of them, whereas they've been in other countries for years. I understand that there are radiation hormesis spas in Germany and Japan and places.
Especially in Japan.
It's a normal, it's like, there's no head scratching there. It's a part of life there. As whereas here, it's all new.
Well, we were very misinformed about Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So it's not for no reason that in Japan, where the bomb actually was dropped, they're very enthusiastic about the healing effects of radiation. And I think Jay found an enthusiastic supporter who wants to fly him over to Japan, because he realizes they're more advanced over there.
Yes. Well, that's wonderful to hear that. It's wonderful that we're living in an age where we're sharing this information, and that we're not so isolated from each other.
That's why we need to get you on public access, get a show share.
I hear the universe is calling me for us to bring this information out again.
Talk about your artwork, because that's a way that you like to express your truths.
Yes, that's true. I was talking before about how I opened up the door to my own emotions and understanding why I had created cancer. And the more that I opened up those emotions, the more I healed myself of those emotions. And not only was that good to help heal me of physical illness, but it also helped to see, it's my belief, and it's many people's belief who are looking at emotions and how they are connected to body tissue. And there is like a cellular memory. You know, when you have an accident or injury or something happens to you, a lot of times those emotions are locked in your body. And you don't realize that they're there until you clean them out. And you can clean them out through diet, you can clean them out through doing things like this, radiation hormesis therapy, the vibrational therapies, ozone therapies, all those things.
Vibrational, you mean the pulse magnetic?
Yes.
That helps cancer too?
Yes, and also doing essential oil therapy.
Oh.
You know, I know several people who have healed themselves of fibroids by taking essential oils and putting them on a tampon and inserting them into the vagina, and that the vibrational energy of the oils helps. They're anti-tumoral, so it helps to actually break down the tumors in the body through a vibration.
So the idea is that a body that's electrically balanced is not going to fall into disease.
Yes, that's a very good way of putting it.
It's a subtle way, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so when I did all this unfolding in my life and letting go of the emotions, that the feelings of I don't deserve better in life, I'm inadequate, or that person could become wealthy and happy and find the right guy and get married, you know, but I won't. I'm alone in the world. Woe is me. You know, we have a lot of beliefs like that.
I had a kind of an experience like that too many years ago in my store. I was feeling sorry for myself because I think I had a boyfriend who would not make a commitment, and he had a house in Lake Tahoe and a little airplane, and he had a house in Oakland, and I'd go from my place to his place up in Tahoe, and I was sorry for myself because I always had to pack. I thought, I can't have all my clothes in one place. And then I realized that, and I thought, you know what? If I'm feeling badly about this, you know, I have to do my shop, and there's nobody working for me, and it's so hard, I have to lift the furniture. And I said, you know, more interesting than what I'm complaining about is why I'm complaining. And if I'm doing this, I bet every human being's doing this. Everybody feels that they're getting the short end of things.
That's right.
And then I thought, you know what? I just don't want to do this anymore.
Yes. Yeah.
So that was my little mini experience compared to yours with the
Well,
mirror.
a lot of us have as an inner core belief or fear is that we're afraid of being conned. You know, whenever you have a bad experience in life, you criticize yourself. Oh, I was so stupid. You know, you're not stupid. You're a human being who has no idea what's going to happen from one moment to another, to another, to another. So, of course, you're going to risk. Every moment of your life is a risk.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Because that means not only is there a risk involved, but there's also this wonderful sense of adventure.
Yeah.
That we can create whatever it is that we want to create in our lives. And if there is something negative that comes along, just love the inner self that you are.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Because it's, you know, it's not an example of how you're not. It's an example of how you are, you know? That you are perfect, whole, and complete as a being, unquestionably. And many times we're not in touch with that. We think we're anything but that. But the truth is we are perfect, whole, and complete.
Sometimes people think that if you say you're perfect and all of that, that you don't really understand somebody who really is great like Jesus. You know, and that I think that the tendency of why people who don't like churches, why they don't like churches, is they feel that it reinforces the victim.
Yes.
I can't be helped unless Jesus helps me. And yet I feel in between both of those. Like sometimes I like to hang out at churches to kind of be reminded of something that's withstood the test of time, maybe imperfectly, but that there's some juice there.
Yes.
You know?
I agree with you. For many years, I searched around looking for the right church for me, one that made me feel comfortable in the way of worship, the rituals involved with worship, and but at the same time didn't make me feel like I was in a box or didn't criticize me or judge me. And I was raised mainly in the Episcopal Church, and I went to many different churches, born-again Christian churches, Episcopal, everything, Methodist, all of it. And I also went to various forms of religious activities called the I Am Sanctuary, which is the Saint Germain movement, and the Aquarian Foundation, and lots of different.
That would probably
MSIA
appeal to you because of your astral projection experiences and your channeling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm a free spirit, and I
Right.
think that's one of the reasons why I have so many different interests in life.
Right.
I'm a butterfly. I like to go from flower to flower to flower to flower. And if I feel that a church is boxing me in and not allowing me to go and to experience, then I can't be a part of that particular community.
Right.
And so what I do is I chant. And my belief and the way I look at it is Christ has always been my Savior. Now, when I was young, I identified with the martyred understanding of Christ, which is on the cross that he
died
suffered
for your sins.
for my sins, which makes me feel like, oh.
Like shit, yeah. Right. You know?
And there comes that thought about I don't deserve.
Yeah.
Because I was raised with that understanding of
only a guy like Jesus could love me.
Right, exactly. And even that, I'm not so sure if he loves me all the time, you know?
Yeah, right.
I feel like I've got to prove myself all the time just in case he changes his mind. And so when I discovered that deep loneliness inside myself, I realized that I was also martyrizing myself. Because what you do to Jesus, you will also do to yourself. If you think that Jesus is up on the cross, guess who's up with him?
Right.
You are.
Right.
So once I took Jesus off the cross and I started to really relate to him as a being, and in a way what I had to do is I kind of brought him up off the pedestal to a certain extent and just tried to relate to him as a friend.
To say this is a real story.
As a friend. And I just would just sit down and just talk to Jesus like I was talking to you. And then I would go inside myself and I would, because they say prayer is talking to Jesus and giving and offering your devotion. And meditation is about receiving. It's about listening, It's about being quiet so that you can hear the truth. We spend so much time running from the truth and preoccupying ourselves and, drugging ourselves and anesthetizing ourselves.
My grandmother used to say she couldn't pray unless she was in trouble. She goes, man, then I could pray.
That's right. And get serious about it too,
But that's a kind of a discovery of your grief in a way. Prayer could be in a way a grief work.
That's true. Yes, it is.
And
it
India,
releases the loneliness.
In India, it was interesting. I learned a lot from that. Some Indians are kind of pushy. And once a lady sat down and really explained it to me. And she said, I don't know if it was Ganesh she was praying to or whoever. She goes, look at, you're God, I know you're God, and I'm suffering, and I know you can help. It was like this demanding, but I realized it as a Christian, it was something I wouldn't have guts to do something like that. And I said, you know what? I can see how that would work. And how Ganesh, if he's out there, would kind of like that way of connecting.
Yes.
To say, I know you can do this.
Yes.
And you better do this.
Yes.
I'm counting on you.
Yes. That relates to a very moving experience that I had. When I was very much in the church, especially the Episcopal Church, it's very close to the Catholic Church, very, very reverent. You genuflect and you're quiet and always humble, always humble. You would never get mad at Jesus or God because they didn't deliver.
Right.
So one time, I spent so much of my time trying to be a good girl so that I can get the rewards of life, right? I had a relationship with a wonderful man, a wonderful young man, and we broke up. And in fact, we largely broke up because he went to another religion, and he wanted to become a Mormon. And in the Mormon church, they practice the law of chastity, and he would no longer be able to have the kind of relationship with me he had had before becoming a Mormon. And so he chose to end our relationship. And I thought to myself, I'm losing you to God. It was like, and I felt like I was such a good little Christian. How could God do this to me?
Wow.
And so I allowed myself to get very, very angry with Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So I jumped in the car.
Not so superstar.
No, not so superstar at that moment, no. And so I jumped in the car and I flew 100 miles an hour into town. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. No one was around. But I was really angry. At that point, I had a little bit of a, not really caring if I lived or died because I had had it. And I couldn't understand how I could fight so hard to be a good person and I'm not receiving any rewards. What good is it to be so good? And so I went to a church, and I went to an Episcopal church, and everything was locked up. I couldn't get inside. And so I drove to another church that was out in the middle of a wooded area. And it was a beautiful church that had a beautiful white light that was shining down on the steeple and on this beautiful white cross. And I stood up on the hill and I had it out with God. I said, I don't understand why you did this. I want you to come down here right now.
Because the other guy's with the Mormon church.
I don't understand you. I can't figure you out,
Yeah.
And I want an answer to this. I want to know why you did this, You say that everything has a reason. Well,
I
what
call
is
that
the
some
reason,
serious womb chakra action.
And I looked up into the beautiful night, the stars were shining, and everything was so perfect and beautiful. And you know, when you're really angry, how you don't want everything to be perfect and beautiful because that defies your anger,
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Well, that's how I felt. And I was very disappointed. I walked away. I was so exhausted. I was crying so hard. And I came home, and a couple of days later, I went to an S seminar, and in the seminar they called it a What So seminar, which is about just getting what is so in your life at that particular moment, not arguing with it, not playing with it, just get it. And so I asked the teacher, I said, you know, I understand what happened and how it happened, but I don't understand why. I said, to be honest with you, the why won't matter to you. It really doesn't matter. Just get where you're at right now. And I was like, more mumbo jumbo. So I went home and I got in bed and I prayed to God and I said, you know what? I'm turning all of this over to you. I totally let go of my attachment to Bob. I let go of my attachment to understanding the why. I just completely let it go. And I did. And in that moment, I left my body. And I rose up out of my body. And the next thing I knew, I was looking down at my body in the bed. And then I noticed that I rose up above the house. And I was looking above the house at the neighborhood and in my body inside the bed.
I had those experiences during sex, though, but I guess this was more self-sufficient.
Well, it's a form of ecstasy.
Yeah.
When you get in touch with who you really are, with the truth of how you are connected to everyone and everything, which some people term as being God, then you experience ecstasy. It's a complete and total surrender to love, ultimate goodness and ultimate love. And when I had that experience, I had no more pain, no more emotional pain. It was completely gone. And I saw the silver cord attaching me to my body. And I was way out in the universe at that point. And I feel a energy pulling me further out. And then I chose to go back into my body. And I went right back into my body again.
Wow, so you had a sense that was enough.
Yes, I had a sense that was enough. And I didn't want to leave the life. I just, I think it was just an opportunity to experience.
I wonder if you would have died of grief. I wonder if some people who've died decided not to come back.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm sure there have been.
Yeah.
I know I certainly had that point before, times when I wanted to commit suicide. I had that moment of, I'd rather be dead than experience this. Mm-hmm. So probably some people would just will themselves to go.
Right. Or rather than come back into that restriction.
Yes.
They want to hang out there. I mean, I think Joe McMoneagle was a great psychic working for the government. Mm-hmm. And somebody tried to poison him, and he was out of his body. And it was so beautiful that when he came back in again, he signed up for every dangerous mission that there was. He was a remote viewer, and I met him at the Monroe Institute. And I thought, at that time, I was so disgusted with the government that when I made money, I went overseas. Mm-hmm. But when I met him, I thought, he's probably seen far worse than I have, and he's hanging out here. Mm-hmm. But he didn't care about living anymore. He wanted to be on the other side, so he'd sign up for all the dangerous missions.
I see.
And then I guess he got promoted because of doing that, and then he started to teach remote viewing. Wow,
that's really something. I'm lucky for those people who are able to learn from him. He has a lot to teach.
Yeah.
I met Edgar Mitchell, who was one of the Apollo astronauts, and he's.
I don't trust his experiences as much, though.
Oh no.
Yeah, because I have questions about the moon thing. Oh. But anyway, but I mean, even something like this low-level radiation.
Yes.
There's information behind it that should have been more available to people.
Yes, and one of the things I just wanted to end that story with was the fact that we have been holding ourselves back with certain beliefs. And I discovered that nothing bad would happen if I expressed my anger to God. Because truly, God and Christ will accept you no matter what. They love you no matter what.
Right.
And when you discover that, it opens you up not only to letting go of your fears and your angers and how that has held you in. But it also taps you into your creative side, because after all, if you are part of this God consciousness and this universal consciousness, then certainly you can tap into all the creativeness that can come from that.
Right.
And so what I did is I used to just sit down and just sit in front of a canvas. When I first moved to New York, I was broke. I didn't have a TV, nothing. So I needed to entertain myself somehow. So
Can we come in on these? Maybe,
I just started to do paintings. I'm not sure where I should point
maybe
this.
point it to the robo in the middle, and then let's see if it'll take him a little while to.
Okay.
We want to get the middle robotic cam. Oh no! Oh, okay. He's going to do it here.
Okay.
You want to come in? We'll do it manually. You want to explain?
Okay. So what I did is I just sat in front of the canvas, and I would just ask God, please just use my hands as a vehicle, and I would start to paint. And the next thing you know, all these different colors would show up. So my painting started off as being kind of atmospheric. And then after a while, my paintings turned into more of a subject matter. And when you look at this, it could be anything. It could be the aurora borealis. It could be, it could be just a very nice series of colors and pictures to kind of look into. And then eventually, forms started to appear. And so I was able to create not only the atmosphere, but also some subject matter as well. And this I call a Temple of Enchantment.
Oh my gosh. So it's like the manifestation process. At first it's more etheric, and then it comes into shape.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that looks like some ascended master hangout.
Yes, it does, doesn't it? Yeah. I like to hang out
I want to go
there.
home.
I've even had dreams about some of these paintings. I had a dream once that I was actually inside this painting, and that I was having a wonderful time.
Yeah, I bet.
I met a lot of very nice people there.
This reminds me, Alan, of our precipitated art shows that we did. We had a psychic that did precipitated art analysis.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have to show you that.
I've
I've only known you as a therapist at La Casa, but are there more to
Oh,
go
yes,
through here?
there's lots more, and I don't know how much time we have, but I also wanted to talk about the jewelry as well.
Just keep showing up.
Yeah, just keep
Oh,
showing.
okay, great. So here's another one.
How much time do we have?
We ran over, so we're about 30 minutes.
30 minutes? Okay, so we
Oh,
ran over
okay.
one show. So oh, great. I like the wide shot, too.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Oh,
and here's
good.
this one of the other. I made this for my mother, actually.
Wow. That is
And,
beautiful.
She loved this painting.
You know, that reminds me, when I went to Majnu Katila, which was a Tibetan refugee camp in India, I expected it to be kind of a depressing place, refugees, but they were all carrying their prayer beads, and it was a high vibe.
Yes.
It was really...
Yes, that's right.
Oh.
And here's a painting that I did for a friend of mine, wanted me to do kind of a spirit guide, kind of visionary type of painting. And so what I saw was a private place within himself that basically is within the roots of the tree. And then I saw the treasure chest that you see on the other side here.
Oh, yeah.
And that was showing the treasures within himself that had the tools for him to evolve and to enhance the quality of his life. And so I do paintings like this that people request me to do. And this was my kind of, I don't know if you can really see this very well, but I really love Impressionistic art. And I like Seurat's work, where he does lots of little dots.
Yeah.
And this painting is made as a series of dots.
Oh, nice.
And so I had a lot of fun doing that.
Maybe we can superimpose the whole studio, so when she changes the shots, we've got the wide shot. Okay.
And this one depicts a kind of a sense of solitude and quiet and going within yourself.
That's nice.
And so as I open up more and more as a painter and as a channel, really, I'm noticing that the ways in which I can express my creativity have changed. They could be in the form of artwork and painting. They could be in the form of doing mandalas. They could be in the form, here's another atmospheric painting here. This is one of the first paintings that I did. I also help people to develop more of it's sort of like a mandala that I'm creating for a person to look into, a vision that I'm creating for them to look into, to help them to tap into their own creative self.
Right.
And their own connection to their own creativity. And for some people, when they look at these pictures, that's exactly what happens. I've done some, this
I
is
would
a spirit
imagine
guide
that
painting.
that would be like yantras visual, because at St. Mark's somebody brought up to the person who was pushing medication that people listening to music become more balanced. So why not listen to music instead of taking meds? So why not look at beautiful art?
Yes, absolutely. And
especially inspired art.
yes. Well, music and art could be extraordinarily healing. And
Yeah,
so
music would be mantra and the art would be yantra.
yes, that's right. That's right, absolutely.
What about your jewelry?
Now, the jewelry is another idea that I had.
Can we
I
come
went
in
through
on-
a 10-year period in my life where I had a lot of difficulties and a lot of tragedies. And I started off with a fire in my apartment in 1996, and I had no place to live for 5 months, and it was a very difficult time for me. And when I came out of that, then both my grandparents passed. My mother was diagnosed with throat and lung cancer. I just had one major problem after another that took years and years to go through these different problems that I was having. When I came out of that time period, I decided to do something that, and I also made these earrings also, I decided to do something that would make me feel good about myself. So I decided to, I don't know if you can get
I love
that.
the earrings because
earring
it's
or
got
not.
the feathers on them.
Yes,
Are you the
combination of
only one
feathers
that
and
does that?
moonstone.
Because I've seen that. Maybe I saw your jewelry at
It
Union
is a popular
Square.
theme, yes, it is a popular theme.
But not everybody's part Mohawk, so I think you're very much entitled to be.
Yeah, it may be about that. So what I did is I took a jewelry class, and I decided
Maybe
to
move
learn
your
how
hair
to make
out of the
jewelry.
way to see.
And
Yeah.
when I did this, I started to really enjoy it, and my friends said, "Oh, you should make jewelry and sell these." And so I said to myself, you know, I took this course because I deserved it. I deserved to do something that was just for me, something that just made me feel more feminine, more beautiful, and what have you. And so I decided to have trunk shows, and I had people come over and look at my jewelry. And I discovered that when people looked at the jewelry, they were like, you know, I came here because I wanted to buy a gift for a friend, but now I want to get something for me because I deserve it. And I thought, oh my goodness, that's exactly what I was thinking when I created this idea.
Oh,
So what
wow.
I've done now is I've created a jewelry line called You Deserve It Designs.
Oh.
And since this was a period of my life where I was going through strife and I was finding a way to uplift myself out of the despair of it, I decided to call it You Deserve It Designs, and I would like to offer.
Is that an amethyst?
Yes, this is amethyst. And when I start to make proceeds from this, then I will be taking a percentage of that and giving it to women who have been displaced, like, for instance, the situation that I was in, and also children
Maybe
who
point.
have health problems, or women who have health problems. This makes displaced homemakers and women with breast cancer.
Right.
Different programs that are out there helping children and helping women. Let's see. Yeah, it's hard to do that without
Now,
falling.
do you feel a certain vibration from different stones? Because I know, I
Yes.
remember when I was following transcendental meditation, they said the 3 ways to evolve, or 3 very powerful tools, are herbs, mantras, and gems, which would be rocks. You know, the radiation hormesis would be an
Yes.
example of,
Yes.
I guess, the vibration of the earth element.
Yes. Well, this one is made with amethyst, which certainly helps you to get in touch with your higher centers. And they are very, very helpful and help you to meditate. They kind of connect you to your higher self. And they also have very healing abilities as well. And if you look at the energy centers in the body, and some of us know them to be termed as chakras in the body, which are wheels of rotation, of rotating energy in the body. And like lapis, for instance, is this beautiful blue stone. And these stones also, if you look at history, you'll also see how stones were used for many different reasons. And they were used for spiritual reasons as well as signifying wealth, and also for healing. And even lapis was used for makeup. In Egypt, they
in
used to
Egypt,
pulverize it, and they used it as eye makeup. And lapis is this beautiful blue stone which helps to vibrate the throat chakra, which helps you to deal with issues of judgment as well as opening up your ability to speak your mind and to do so in a way that's non-judgmental, and then offering, unconditional love through speech and through song. And then also I enhance some of these stones with a little bit of crystal, and it may be either quartz crystal on the top here. It might be hard to see these, but these are also Swarovski and quartz crystals on top, which helps to enhance the blue ray energy of the lapis stone as well.
Right. Do you want to zoom in on that with this? Okay. Should we take our pH before the end of the show?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Here's a stick for you. Just put it
Thank
on
you.
your lap. And I can't remember. I have to take a new one here. See if it's any different. This is what we're doing. These are alkaline strips.
I think mine has gone up a little bit. It's gone up to 6.7.
So
it
maybe
was
it's
6.5, yeah.
Yeah, so the artwork and the jewelry.
That's right. And
So
we're
there you
raising our
go.
vibrations just by the talk of letting go and opening up to.
But I have to admit that 8
Spiritual
was quite
energy.
something. I've never thought, I'd do that, and I did that a couple of times.
Oh,
Are
with
you
the-
more alkaline in the morning or the evening?
I'd probably say a little bit later in the day I'm more alkaline. But when I use the stones and when I drink the water that the stones, because there was one water stone, and you could put it in water and it sits in water for 8 hours, and the radiation goes into the water. But I don't mean to make it sound as though that the radiation's left the stone. It's not. It's just that the stone enhances the radiation in the water, but you cannot take the radiation out of the stone.
Right.
But when you drink the water, it raises your alkalinity. And I noticed for me, when I drank I would test it, and I've always had problems with raising my pH. And I noticed it's 5.0, but when I drink the water, it goes right up to 8.0.
Right,
And it happened overnight, just drinking 2 ounces of the radiated water overnight.
Well, anyway, Cher, thank you for joining me. And you can connect with Cher at La Casa de Spa. That's 41 East 20th Street, which is a block from where I live.
And that's where we do different therapies with radiation hormesis
Yeah,
and the
maybe-
electromagnetic pulse machine, colon
Right.
therapy, ozone therapies. And
And
then
I was talking to Jane about maybe putting a radioactive rock in the water for the colon therapy.
Yes,
People can request
yes,
that.
we're looking into
as,
doing
as
that
we
as
get
well.
more educated about it.
Yes. And then what I do through Vibrant Spirit Quest, which is my business, which is separate from La Casa, what I do is help people to work on the transitions in their life. If they know that they're confused or they feel a little bit lost, or that there are certain patterns of behavior that have become repetitive in their life that they're not happy with, such as the
Yeah.
same type. They have relations with
Right.
different men, but they all seem to be the same. The same kind of problems keep showing up. I help people with things like that, and certainly with people who are